guys, I'm Camden's mom, and today I'm going to be reading you one of my favorite picture books. It's called Rosie Revere, Engineer. Rosie Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. Can you guess which one is Rosie? But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Eaves are like under the roof. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. Look at all those gadgets that she's made. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair sweeping over one eye. She made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser and helium pants. There's Rosie. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head. From parts of a fan, some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. Do you really think cheddar cheese spray keeps pythons away? And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred snapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed, and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere. Why do you think he's laughing? Who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," hooted Fred. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie knew that could not be true. Do you think he really liked it? She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, when her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-great-aunt Rose was a true dynamo. Who'd worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. All chalk that went up to an old lady's dreams." So she wanted to fly. And she had never gotten a chance to fly before, even though she used to build those airplanes. That night, as Rosie laid wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. Could she build a gizmo to help her aunt fly? She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her aunt fly. How is she going to do it? She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop that it might turn out to be. She seems to like cheese. What do you think? Is it going to work? Is it actually going to fly? Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Helio cheese copter sputtered, then twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Did it work? Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere. Why do you think she's laughing? Rosie's helicopter just crashed and broke, and her aunt is laughing at her. Rosie thought, oh no, never, never again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. Poor Rosie, she's gonna give up. Her copter crashed, she's just gonna give up. She turned round to leave, but then Great Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt, it crashed. That is true. But first it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed, and Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear, to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. Do you think her new copter is going to work? The first one crashed, but she didn't give up and she tried again. Is she going to build a second one? At the Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proudly as Rosie Revere. The end, and look, there's her great aunt flying away in the copter. So she did it.